The future is something that concerns people every day, even in short term or long term. People are constantly thinking about what might be just around the corner of their life.
How is the education system equipping students to become better individuals that are prepared for their future?
Our goal was to find how much the current education system is preparing students for life and how students are reacting to the system. Before we begin each interview, we asked each student to give honest answers and opinions.
I'm probably gonna say friends and your social standards, because you always act differently when you're around your friends, and when you're at home, you kind of just act the way you should act around your parents, so you don't get in trouble.
I feel like a lot of the standards that people place on what I should be doing or who I should be, I usually end up going against it just to spite them. So I don't exactly know whether like who I am is because of certain people, but the closest thing to me would be because of my friends. Because I feel like I'm more open with them, so it's more shaped by them because we're all in this together, I guess.
By doing different studies like math, science, and physical education, it helps you prepare for the world later on in life.
Taking all that I've learned, all the lessons I've learned in high school, like how to manage my time and such, and how to take care of myself in regards to being on my own at home, I think I'm prepared to take on the challenges that life brings.
No, because I've learned at a project based school, if you have the best group, you guys may not be the smartest, but since you have a group and you rely on your group, that you'll have the best grades. You'll be a 4.0 student, and it doesn't specify the percent you're at, so you won't know the difference.
You could be smart, but you can't have any like work ethic. You know what I mean? Like the people that work hard is what gets them to where they are.
Friends, other peers that you talk to, and a lot of times teachers overwhelm you with work, which makes these kids bored and makes you want to talk to the people next to you.
Yeah, the reason is people get distracted in class is because not necessarily phones, but the people you surround yourself by. You may get off talking about what you saw on Twitter last night or a funny video, or maybe you just haven't seen that person and you're just talking about whatever. So I think the people you surround yourself that are your friends, those aren't the best choices because you'll easily get distracted.
There's probably a lot going on in classes. Either you got your phone in your hand, or you got your best friend sitting next to you, or you just don't know what's going on and you're afraid to ask a question.
If you have classmates that you're really friendly with and like hang out with a lot, then most of the time you'll probably not get your work done and talk with them.
No, because there are certain things. I feel like what you learn in the classroom is limited because you only learn by like a set thing of like subjects, and there's like different aspects of life that you just can't learn in a classroom. Like you can't learn, experience new lessons about life exactly in a classroom.
It depends on how you are around people, like the people around you, how they influence you and all that. To me, it's not. I feel like you learn from mistakes as life goes on. So you learn. Like, that's just me. I learn from mistakes from my past experiences.
It kind of depends on like what kind of character you are. 'Cause a lot of school is how disciplined you are and how good you are paying attention.
Can be at times, but when the teacher doesn't have control of the class, it's like,
What you learn in life is not always going to be academic. Like you need to go through certain things in your life in order to learn from lessons. You just got to learn by experience. You can't always just go by the book. Yeah, it just doesn't work that way.
Me, I think that the classroom is okay. It's okay, but I feel like there are better places to learn. It's also the people. The people are definitely what affects whether you learn or not. It depends on the teacher, whether the teacher can teach and whether the students will cooperate and whether they want to learn. That really will affect whether the classroom is the right environment for them to learn or not.
It really just depends on the teacher and how open the teacher is to hearing students' opinions, because others are like, it's by the book. If you don't agree with the book, you're wrong. Like they'll give you a bad grade. You can't expand necessarily on your own thoughts, and you can only talk about and study the thoughts that they teach you. So it depends on how the teaching is, I guess.
American Canyon does. I can't speak for other schools.
Nah, I don't really think so. I think they kind of want to shape you into a box, sort of say, and just get you thinking the way society wants you to think.
More about just getting your grades. It's not really about learning. It's not about creativity. It's not about who you are. It's about getting those grades, getting those A's, and then moving on and then going to college and also continue to get those grades, get those A's, and then go have your job. It's just, I don't think that school at all like promotes creativity or individuality. As much as they try to, it doesn't work.
No, not really. I feel like if you're gonna think critically, you're gonna do it by yourself, based off of your surroundings or just how you go through life.
I think school has challenged me to make the right choices on time management, especially because instead of like go hang out with friends, I realized I gotta get this project done or this homework done so I could be successful. And yeah, but thinking critically, nah, it's kind of basic.
I feel you can see that anywhere. It's just not just school, but it just depends on where you're at and how you deal with things.
No, not at all, because a lot of the times I've seen some kids talk to counselors and they say that the information that they tell them or anything that they tell them doesn't get to anyone else. And I've seen people refer people to psycho doctors or something like that, and they weren't supposed to tell that person that because it was supposed to be between them two. But nah, I wouldn't express personal feelings at all.
According to the National Center for Education Statistics, only 62% of high school students continue their education at a 2 or 4-year college.
Traditional education does not teach students how to be creative individuals that are able to think critically and make the right choices. The system does not cover important skills such as emotional intelligence, and the focus of learning is aimed towards standardized testing.
We asked these teachers to give honest answers based on personal experience.
I feel that there are more important parts of a curriculum than others, I guess the question should be back to students. They're the customer, so what is important to them needs to be part of that equation to decide on what we should be teaching.
I think there's a lot of things that we teach our students, not necessarily content-wise, but for instance, the way to think, how to problem solve, and I think those skills are incredibly important for moving forward. Day-to-day content, I think, comes second to that.
I think general knowledge, absolute importance, because no matter what field you go into, whether you decide to go to college or whether you decide to go straight into the work field, you're going to have a general amount of knowledge, and I think that's what school does. It teaches you that knowledge.
Well, the curriculum that we currently have is very effective. It's preparing our students for their future and for college. I think what we're teaching is pretty great.
I think I am. I'm passionate about teaching students. Some of the curriculum, absolutely. I'm very much into it.
Yes, otherwise I would not be here as the teacher that I am. I think English is a super, super important skill. I'm not going to say that it's the most important skill, but I think it's definitely up there because even if you take math classes, you need English skills to explain your problems. You need English skills in your bio or your chem class to explain the very things. If you decide to become a lawyer, you definitely need perfect writing skills and argumentative abilities. So I'm absolutely passionate because it's in literally every single subject that you're going to have to come across at some point as a student.
With the PBL implementation, I think that it is making it very engaging for a teacher as well as students to be part of the system.
Sometimes in psychology, I'm very into the topic, other times I'm not, and that reflects in my teaching. Same thing with economics. Last year, and when I taught big history, same thing. There were some of the units where I was like, oh boy, it was painful. And I could see that on my students as well. But in others, the lights were going on, and it was really, really good. I think they respond well to, again, if they're interested, then yes, absolutely. They respond well. I think that's part of the job of contemporary teaching is you've got your curriculum, make sure that it's entertaining, to be quite honest with you, because that's the type of students that we're given, ones that need that immediate gratification, entertainment, that type of thing.
I think chemistry's hard, so I think once they get to my class, a lot of what they've done in school has not been at the same difficulty level, so I just feel like they're kind of surprised more than anything with the work that it takes.
I think this is a pretty subjective question because there are going to be those A and B students who will respond well to anything, and then there are the students who will respond negatively to everything. So I mean, it really depends on what kind of individual you are. So it's pretty subjective.
Yes, I think giving them the opportunity to collaborate with one another and to expand on their learning and research on their own is very effective.
I think so. I mean, it's hard to tell because they have 7 periods of school every single day, and one period they might not be as interested as the next, but we try to make it as fun as we can.
As of now, yes. I think that we can explore other options, but so far the most effective way to teach our student is to have them in classrooms.
No. But it's the one we have, right? How else can I get all of you guys to voluntarily come together in one place? I have tools here that are supposed to be really helpful, and they're helpful in varying degrees.
Not always. I think certain subjects speak well to moving outside of the classroom, but it's not always feasible with the type of classes that we have.
If I'm going to have a conversation about politics, then I should probably have that at City Hall or at the state capitol or someplace like that, right?
Some students thrive in the classroom of just sitting at a desk, writing, highlighting, doing projects, but other kids need to be outside of the classroom, like actually doing the certain things that they're learning about. So again, I think it really depends on your learning style.
I think the education system has the best intentions, but whether it's implemented to best fit the students is always a question mark, simply because of funding and resources and things like that. But within a classroom, I think teachers do the best with what they have to make it sustainable for students.
We're getting around to that. Our district recognizes the need to teach the whole child, as they say, but it's done so clinically that it's very difficult to get any traction with that. We need to know going in that, I'm not your first teacher. Your parents or guardians are your first teacher, right? They need to take on that responsibility first, primarily, right? Sure, can we back that up and support that? Yes. Do I think it's part of our job? Absolutely, right? But I have quite a bit of frustrations with students that come in that clearly their parents and guardians are not doing their job as the student's first teacher. So we have to fill the gaps. We have to. Somebody has to, right?
Yeah, I believe that the education system promotes the well-being of the student to a certain extent, but it could probably be a lot more than what it is right now, with helping students to find what they are interested in, what they love, or what they have passion for.
I think it's one thing to promote it and then another thing to actually believe in it. So I think the American education system definitely promotes, like, oh, be healthy, be active, be smart. But then it doesn't exactly create an environment where students can actually be the best that they can be, because there's so much pressure on the students to, be the A+ students and then do all the sports and do all the extracurriculars such as like clubs. So it promotes it, but it doesn't really structure the system well enough for the student to actually become the best that they can be.
Yeah, I believe that all 14 years are necessary, because you have people that go to college for many years after that. Some of those disciplines are really difficult to grasp, and when they deal with human life, you want to be an expert.
No, I think Europe has a pretty awesome system where they have it modified a little bit and they do just fine.
I think we can implement a couple of years. We can combine years to reduce that number. I think 14 years could be a little excessive, depending on what years we're thinking about combining.
No, I know students that I've actually coached in the past to graduate early. They're just ready. I mean, we can't have one size fits all.
Yes, only because when you're really young, you absorb everything like a sponge, but then there's like a plateau where you start developing your own interests and you kind of veer off of like academics, and you start hanging out with friends and you have other interests. But the 14 years I think is absolutely necessary. I read this NPR article about how America's high school graduates look like other countries' dropout students, and if it takes an extra 4 years, an extra 5 years to get our students to that level and skill and knowledge, then I think it's absolutely necessary.
I've talked to other students about this idea of, it's called an IEP, Individualized Education Program. We do that for our kids with special needs, right? 504s and IEP students, students with special needs that have learning challenges, right? And we put in place a team. There's an SST and a team that comes together 3 times a year to talk just about that student. And there could be 3 to 5 people at the table. Why don't we do that for every student? Starting in kindergarten, so that your kindergarten teachers get together with you and your first grade teachers and say, this is how they learn best, right? These are their challenges, this is how they learn best. Whether they have a learning disability or not, it doesn't matter, but that system is great. It works really, really well when it works, It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of resources. We need to, from the people who have the decision makers for the money part of it, right? They need to be on board with that, clearly on board with that, and that doesn't seem to be happening.
Of the 7 themes of world history, this issue falls within the theme Expressing Identity. The 5th world history theme, Expressing Identity, discusses the importance of individuality and how identification has been used for thousands of years. There's value in knowing who you are because it helps you figure out who you want to be, what makes you happy, and what you want to do for your career. How people identify themselves reflects who they are and what they want to do.
What if education promoted this expression? How can education prepare students to find themselves in a way that stimulates growth in all aspects of their being? The world needs more creative individuals as technology and science continues to advance. Having more emotionally responsible individuals can create a society worth living in.
At American Canyon High School, the use of project-based learning and various art and athletic programs are changing the paradigm of education.
I believe that we're pioneers with project-based learning. Most schools that are implementing project-based learning wall-to-wall, they're small schools like New Tech High with 300 or 400 students, whereas we're a comprehensive high school with 1,550 students, and we're implementing PBL. I definitely think it's a paradigm shift happening in education, and I think that we're on the forefront of that. We have our challenges in doing it with fidelity, but we're continuing to receive professional development, and we're going to continue to implement this program. And hopefully in a few years when we reflect back, we see that we're producing a student that is equipped and ready for the 21st. In a traditional model, teachers are typically at the front of the classroom doing more lecturing, and students are taking notes and trying to retain that information and regurgitate it on a test. Whereas with our system, what we're trying to do at AC is that we're trying to have the students have a little bit more buy-in into their education and into their learning, doing a lot more collaboration, working in groups, communication, really getting into greater depths of their learning. And so that information that you're learning and that you're grappling with every day, you're going to be able to apply it in the real world. The traditional model, I can't say that the traditional model is bad because I think it's produced a lot of great people. But as time changes, you have to change with the times. Technology allows us to go a little bit deeper. So allow you to research that information, but let's go a little bit deeper with that information and figure out how we can apply it. So I do think that the change happening in education is a good change, but we're in the middle of that transition, and every time change happens, it takes a little while for people to really adapt to it, get comfortable with it, and being able to move it forward. So yeah, I think the change happening in education is a positive change. I think once we figure out how to deliver this model of instruction, I think our students are going to be better learners and better equipped for the 21st century. I can tell you right now, our AC students, if we had to go to college and you had to do presentations, you're not going to have an issue with doing it because I've already seen it. I've worked with students on different councils, and just watching an American Canyon High School student present something, back it up and argue that particular fact, whatever it is, it's pretty amazing to watch. We don't shy away from that, and I think that has a lot to do with our model. But we also have to remember we're just getting started too. So you look a few years down the line, we're going to be producing some outstanding students.
So as the world continues to change, so must our education. Finding new ways to bring out the best in students should be a top priority. Those in school now are the future generation, and they must be prepared and equipped for what lies ahead.